This video is going to show you a solo flawless pit of Heresy during the season of the Lost. For those that just want to see the run, then skip the timestamp, see how available to you. Other than that, I can discuss the weapons, the mods I brought, and the builds. So this is going to be a quick overview of what I used throughout the dungeon. If you want more information about all the aspects of the builds and things, it will be in the run itself. So, build number 1 is used for the entire of the dungeon up until the final boss. That build is Voidwalker, Attunement of Hunger, Scatter Grenades, Heal and Rift, pairing that with the exotic Gauntlets, Nothing Manacles, which gives you 2 Scatter Grenades. I'll talk more about why we're using this build, but that's what we've got on. Armor mods. On the helmet, we've got Ammo Finders, always to match what weapons you're using at the time. Impact Induction, SMG Loader, Solar Damage Resistance, Concussive Dampener, and on the last 3 pieces, we've got a Warmind cell build, and that is Rage of the Warmind, Global Reach, Wrath of Rasputin. We pair that with the Ikelos SMG, which can generate Warmind cells. I'm sure we all know this. It's got a surrounding spec in it, and we've also got the Ascendancy rocket launcher on from this season, which has explosive light, a major spec in it, and can also generate Warmind cells because of the mod Wrath of Rasputin. We've got Bomber and Distribution on the class item as well. That's a basic overview of what we're using for that. That's build 1. Build 2 is different. So I'll switch all the pieces over first. So you can see, this is what I'll do. So build 2 is our buff debuff build for the final boss, and that's going to be Well of Radiance, Solar Grenade, Heal and Rift. We paired that with the exotic helmet Felwinter's Helm, which debuffs enemies on finishes and powered melee final blows. I'll talk more about this exotic in the run though. Okay, you don't have to use this setup. This is just what I'm using. Armor mod wise, it's completely different to originally. So we've got a passive guard on our class item with Take and Charge, Loosened Blade on the boots, Enhanced Sword Scavenger. You need arc piece for this. You must have an arc piece somewhere in your armor for it to work, to have Loosened Blade on. This will change. Okay, I know it's got Rage of the Warmind on now, but in the middle of the run, we will change Rage of the Warmind to Supercharge, which gives us 2 additional stacks of Charge of Light. We will do that. Then we've also got stacks on stacks on our Gauntlets, which is Void. You need Void for that if you're going to do that. With Bolster and Detonation, Focus and Strike. And on the helmet, Sustain Charge, Sword Ammo Finder. Sustain Charge gives you Charge of Light via auto rifles. So all of that means it's a Lucent Blade build. We're going to get lots of Charge of Light with all the mods that we've got that accumulate. Our weapons obviously are going to match all that. So we've got an auto rifle on, Chroma Rush, Subsistence Rampage, and an excellent auto rifle for this. Coordinate the fusion rifle. It was just I didn't really have any other ideas of what else to put on, but this worked out decent, and you'll see why. And then the exotic sword, the Lament. This is based on the strategy for this season, because passive guard is out, so you may as well take advantage of it. So as we start the run, we'll make our way to the open encounter. With this first drop, be careful not to wipe or something. If you do wipe and you keep going on with the run, it won't be classed as a solo flawless because you wiped here, of course. Now, it's really easy to do this on a Warlock because the way the jump works on a Warlock, you can cut the momentum off a long drop with 1 click of your jump button. On a Titan, not so. You've got to time the jump better. And on a Hunter, you can cut the momentum, of course, as well. So for Titan mains, be careful on that first drop. But on a Warlock Hunter, it's not so bad. With this starting section, you can't sparrow. You used to be able to sparrow this part. They changed that. So it's just a case of it's slower than what it used to be. This whole dungeon's a slower solo run than what it used to be, as they done a lot of patches on the orb duplication chases and things like that. So the dungeon's a little bit different to what it used to be. Okay, it's still maybe the easiest dungeon, I would say, possibly. Maybe Shattered Throne is now, actually. It just depends on how you look at it. But as we start, we're just focusing on getting the knight down straight away. So you can melt him with Izanagis, nades, whatever you want. But as I said, just focus the orange bar. You don't need to kill any of the acolytes. The orange bar knights, if you don't know, they are the trigger for opening the doors. We'll melt the yellow bar knight to get the sword. They drop the relics. And then we'll look at the symbols. I'm not going to tell you what these symbols are because people are going to laugh at my call outs for it, because I have different call outs to what other people have. Obviously, I don't need to have a call out because I'm solo, right? So I know what those symbols are, so I'll go to those. Your symbols are going to be different to what I've got. So it's a case of if you've never done this, you're going to have to learn this starting encounter. Just be careful of drop damage like that. I devoured immediately though to save that. And then we'll just go in for the knight. The quicker you kill the orange bar knight, the quicker or easier it makes it. For example, I had Shrieker here, right? What I've just done there is I've stopped the ogres from spawning, which means I use less sword ammo, right? Which means I can defeat all 3 targets with 1 sword. Because the problem with this encounter is, obviously, you meant to, use your sword ammo to take down the each ultra. So one's block, the Shrieker's block, the knight is light swings, and then the wizard is heavy attack. So they're designed it so that you use a sword, you go and get a fresh one. But the problem with this dungeon is the knights, the yellow bar ultras, they spawn on the bridges. They don't spawn in so fast, and I'm so impatient for that, and I'd rather just not. You're just sitting on a bridge waiting, and I know you can sort of take ads down and it speeds it up, but still, I'd rather just take all the ultras with 1 sword. Now, how would you go about doing that? Well, Shriek is easy, because as you just saw, I spent 10 sword ammo, 15 sword ammo, whatever it was, right? The knight is even, it's not as much sword ammo. It's a little bit more than the Shrieker, but not as much. You just wait your super out. So what I tend to do on the knight, if I get knight, is just do 2 sword supers. Just keep jumping over his head. Don't block, because when you block, it consumes sword. You'll never find me blocking so much. I probably should block more than what I do, especially when I'm at the boss fight. But generally, I don't block with the sword. But as I said, we're just going to use 2 sword supers, a couple of light swings, and we're still 66 sword ammo count. So we're using the sword to its fullest. The sword deals with all the ultras, it deals with the orange bar knights, so you don't use any weapons. Right? The only time you're really using a weapon is for the first ultra knight and the orange bar knight, and for solo wizards, which is why we've got a solo weapon on. I want you to use Ascendancy because it's an amazing rocket launcher. It could be possibly the best rocket launcher in the game. Explosive light on it, but not only that, it's got tracking on it, right? Which makes it an ideal weapon for wizards. And there's a lot of wizards in this. On this opening encounter, there's just 2. That's fine. But later on, there's a lot of wizards. And it's good on long range at nights that are far away. Things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to using Ascendancy. But right now, we're just taking the lifts, because my last symbol is right at the top, unfortunately. So I have a bad rotation here. I didn't have the best rotation, but it's all RNG. If you want to skip snipers and ogres like this on the bridge, that's fine, but know what you're doing. Sometimes you may need to block. Right now, there's 3 snipers, 1 ogre. That's not good. Okay. I don't have void damage resistance on now. I can just talk quickly about resistance values. In this dungeon, solar damage resistance is the best resistance for Zulmak. Anything up to Zulmak before it, void resistance is the best. Now, I didn't have void resistance on because I'm playing Warlock. It's fine. But if you do struggle with acolytes and things like that, and ogres, the best resistance is void. Okay? There's so much stuff doing void to your arc, not so much, a couple of wizards here and there, but that's not a problem. You can avoid all that stuff. What we've done there is we dropped the sword relic behind cover. That's one key thing. The next thing is go in for the 2 solo wizards. Now, the first solo wizard you saw, I shot when the wizard was really close, a bit too close, but that's fine. I survived it. Just try to be a bit more tactical than what I was, but take the 2 solo wizards with your rocket only. The rocket will one-shot the 2 wizards. What will happen while you're doing that is you will lose sword ammo while you take the solo wizards, because when you drop a sword, it won't disappear, but it will deplete ammo. So say, for example, it's 30 sword ammo. We drop the sword, we go and kill the 2 wizards. Say that takes us 10 seconds. We will have lost 5 to 10 sword ammo because it's on the floor. It's depleting ammo as it's on the floor. So you've got to drop the sword, obviously, because you don't want to use the sword on the wizards. That's not a good idea. That's why you got a rocket on for that bit. Makes it really good. You can stop the wizards from spawning, but you've got to be quicker. Like, as soon as you melt that knight, go in that room, just like I did on the Shrieker one, and you'll find sometimes the solar wizards don't spawn, but sometimes they still do, like they did with me. So we're going to the exit. The exit is the same exit every time, okay? We use the sword again. We haven't dropped it. I wouldn't recommend it. Just use your... So it's a super 2 swings to kill an orange bar knight. And then that's the opening encounter and done. Again, if you're just starting out doing a solo flawless, you've got a lot of learning curve to go through. It might take you hours to learn the mechanics. You're not just going to come on and say, right, I've never played this dungeon, I'm going for the solo flawless. No. Learn each encounter, practice each encounter. If you wipe in the dungeon halfway through, don't go to orbit, keep doing the run, because you're learning that encounter and it's all knowledge gained. So even though you're failing, you're not failing, because you're perfecting for the final run that you're going to do in the end, which will give you the solo flawless. Okay? So that's what it's all about. So for example, you're at the Ogre Maze now. If you keep dying at the Ogres, which I know this is a common complaint, people have got enough skill in the world to do this, but the Ogre Maze, it just beats them, because the Ogres, they don't know what to do with the Ogres, solo-wise. Especially without Invis, and we're on a Warlock. So what I suggest is, obviously you come to melt your first knight. Nova him, whatever you want to do. Then what I'm going to do is see where the Ogre is, and then melee past the Ogre. Void damage resistance. If you are struggling with the Ogres, go void damage resistance. But ultimately your movement and meleeing with the orb past an Ogre will negate melee damage and knockback damage. Knockback distance. Because he can stomp you off the map. But if you melee, it negates that. Just like when we melee bosses, when we're doing like, you know, shotguns on bosses and things, or swords on bosses, it negates that stomp damage. So what we're doing here is trying to look at the Ogre, because he basically stops in between shots. So he'll do his void attack and there'll be 1 or 2, see that second? If you see that second or two, he stopped doing his void attack. That's when you go. Okay, if he's beaming you around the corner, that's when you go. Then you want to go for the next knight, which is through that door there. Proc Devour as soon as you come in here, which you should have a Devour. You can also, if an Ogre nearly kills you outside, proc a Devour quickly. You've got 2 of them. You're on nothing Manacles, which is an amazing build. Then you just want to go to town, use your rocket, use your cells, which is really good in these rooms, because even though Warmind cells got nerfed, the radius, I can't mind what the radius is, someone's going to tell me, but I can't mind. But in these rooms, a Warmind cell is at full effectiveness in these little cave rooms. The cell's going to do what they used to do in terms of just clearing out the room. Because the room's tight-knit, it's close quarters. If it's not close quarters, the cell's not as effective because the radius got reduced. Now I'm taking the secret passage. Just follow on screen that route. So over the cliffside, through here, there'll be thrall spawn, and don't melee with the orb. Whatever you do, don't melee with the orb, because you'll get stuck on the thrall and they'll kill you. Because there's probably 20 thrall in that cave. Then you get the second dunk, so we're doing left, middle, and then right. That's how I always do this. The Ogre push, we're doing a healing rift in that little crevice section, wherever it is. Same again, we wait for the stomp. And then we can use Devour in this little room. Like, always start the room with a Devour, because you don't know where the knight is, you don't know what you're coming into. The knight positions are different. It's RNG where they are. Use Ascendancy. That's fine, and we get our final orb. This used to be a lot easier, obviously, with the orb duplication, which isn't possible now. I don't believe so, at least. I haven't tried it, but I believe it didn't get nerfed this season. It got nerfed last season, I believe it was. 2 seasons ago, or whatever. Okay, so now we're into this room. Be sure, look at your radar, pay attention to it right now. Did you see the red to my left? That disappears. Did you see it? If you didn't, you need to replay the video and look at that. Because what's happening there is the Ogres are despawning. If an Ogre sees you in this room, you have lost your soul flowers and the Ogres will actually kill you. When you go next to the Acolytes that will start the encounter, if you want to put a banner in, do not go close to the Acolytes. I didn't put a banner in because I'm max on heavy, I've got super energy, I didn't need it. But if you need it, then do not go close to the Acolytes, because you're going to start it and you won't be able to put a banner in. And also the timer starts on the plate, so just to give you a brief explanation while I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, I might miss parts, but I'm just explaining this. So there's a Curse of Suffering debuff. There's also a plate mechanic. For those who played King's Fall, it's basically a solo version of King's Fall. The totems, the totem section. It's not called totems in this, but it's basically the same thing. So you have a plate, and that plate needs to be stood on to keep it from wiping you. Once the plate gets to a certain colour in red, right? After so long, the plate will wipe you if you don't stand back on it. There's like a certain noise on the plate that you'll hear, like as if it's like a knock on the door or something. I don't even know how to explain it. There's like a certain audio cue to the game telling you that you have stepped back on the plate. The timer is reset. Listen for that noise. Don't stand on the edge of the plate. Stand right in the middle of the plate. Make sure you get that audio cue. Okay, turn your SFX audio up so that you can hear that. You need to hear that plate audio cue to say, right, the plate is reset. Or just look at the middle of the plate and you'll see if it's red. If it's not red, you've reset it. So as the fight's going on, you're getting Curse of Suffering. I've been told, and I didn't know this was news to me, it blew my mind, because I've been playing this dungeon for ages. The Curse of Suffering debuff goes up. It goes to up to so many stacks. I'm not even sure, 10 stacks, 12 stacks, whatever it is. But the higher the stacks go up, the more damage the hive do to you. So essentially, the fight is progressively harder as it goes on. But that debuff resets each orb dunk. You need to dump 6 orbs, and you get the orbs from the knights, the ultras. Ultras can spawn top, left, right. I usually take a knight from left and right. Why do I not take them from top, mid? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's too far away, right? If you get caught off guard and you have to re-devour up and you haven't melted your knight, you melt your knight, you pick up the orb, there might be too much time and you might lose the timing on the plate and it might wipe you. Never go for a knight top mid. You don't need to. They keep spawning up. Just pick a knight left and right. They usually hide behind their pillars. So just to have a look, you know. Also, every time you do an orb dunk, you get knights, right? They're just red bars. Now, ideally, you would think snipe them. I've got Izanagis on. What I prefer to do is this. I like to snipe the yellow bars on the ground, right? And I like to use rockets on the red bars at the top. I'll tell you why. Because they flinch you, and all the acolytes flinch you. There's so much PvE flinch. It's not like day one where you know snipers were best in class and you know nothing flinched you with a sniper. No, in this game you get flinched. Even the fact that Izanagi's burden has no distractions, which it states no flinch or reduced flinch. You're just getting flinched. It's literally just worth your while to save rockets for the knights above, because they are the thing that's going to wipe people. I think is the boomer knights. And also, if you don't clear them each phase, they just keep stacking up. So say for example, you dunk 2 orbs and you didn't clear any knights, that's 4 boomer knights. So the boomer knights just keep going up and up and up in the count. So each phase, you need to take care of that. Now, how I like to do it is just devour up. Each time the plate's clear and there's no curse, there's no thrall, use a rocket or 2. It's tracking, so it's a guaranteed kill on that knight. So that means I'm happy with that. I've given the knight some attention. I've shot my rocket. I can forget about it. Unless you do miss it, there's a low chance that you're going to miss that rocket. So as I said, it's tracking. The knight's not going to dodge you because he's sitting on a ledge. You can't dodge it really. So you know you're going to do that. Save novas for ultras. I don't use them on cursed and thrall. Your cells are going to do that. Now you're paying attention as well to how good the cells are doing. This room is, I would say, you know, it's not. It is quite close quarters, to be fair. So the cells are going to help out on a lot of the ads. Say for example you get a cell back mid of the map, then that will kill most of the acolytes from, you know, where they hide, the acolytes that hide. Whereas if you get a cell on the plate, that will take care of all the thrall that push you, curse that push you, things like that. Always keep an eye on your health. Now I'm running this harder than what it needs to be because I'm not running void damage resistance. if you're somebody who's less confident than me, then please put on void damage resistance. I would actually say put on double void resistance. You're going to find it so much easier because all the acolytes, the acolytes are what's doing more damage to you. You know, that's another thing that's probably going to wipe people. But again, that's why I've suggested go on a Warlock, go Devour. Make your life easier. Also be careful of Curse. They can sort of almost wipe you if they explode right on top of you. So the best thing is at times, if a Curse is to rush you, like within 2-3 meters of you, jump over their heads. That will make them explode. It won't count as your kill for Devour, your Devour chain, but it will be safer. If the Cursed is nowhere near you, then obviously melt them down with nades. You're going to keep getting grenade energy, so use your scatters. Whatever you do, don't use your scatter grenade right at your feet. It can kill you. You can take self-inflicted damage off that. That's what makes Vortex grenade so good, because you get an initial burst of inflict damage off Vortex and then it stops. Whereas scatter is just, it can wipe you out. So just be careful. Use your scatter grenades smart. Use them from distance. Don't be using them on top of you. Okay? Don't be using them on Cursed if they're right close to you. Anytime you get a cell low, shoot that when you can, because that's going to help out massively. You can see I'm fighting the entire time and Boomenites are up and it's still not a problem to me because of the Devour chain. What you need to realise is each time you dunk the orb, the adds reset, so you need to take out all the Cursed and Thrall. I like to do that. I like to take out Cursed and Thrall. Then when Acolyte level is low, because Acolytes are infinite, when the level of the Acolytes are low in the room, that's when I go for the Knights. Or just any opportunity that I do, basically. There's no written rule to it. It's just plain smart. Also, pick up any orbs, because you're going to get your explosive light, and that's the end of it. So you can see that was comfortable. If you noticed on the gameplay, I didn't even use my Healing Rift once. Okay? Now, I should have done it times, but I didn't need to, because being mobile is important. That just showed you how the double Devour build for this works out really good. I could have went, Nezarec Sim with like a Void setup. There's all sorts of things. You could have used Transversive Steps. Like Transversive Steps would work really good on Devour, because every time you're running around, you're reloading your SMG or your rocket, and that's actually really handy because when you're running and gunning. So Transversive Steps would be an excellent top tier choice for that room as well. But as I said, if you're a less confident player, then I think the double Devour works even better, because as I said, if you do a Devour and you don't get a kill for whatever reason, I mean you should be, and that Devour chain runs out, then you've got another Devour in your back pocket to use, right? Now scatter grenades, it works well on when you just throw a grenade, but the scatter grenade on Top Tree Nova, it doesn't work the same. I don't know whether it's bugged or not. It actually does less damage than what a standard scatter grenade will do. I don't know why. Okay, I believe it's still the same. Now I haven't, as I say, looked up this. It was just when they first came out, that's what everyone was saying, and that was true. Whether it's still the same case, I don't know, but I believe it will be. I don't think they've changed. They haven't done anything with these gauntlets. So don't run Top Tree Nova with these gauntlets, because they don't work as what you'd think they would work. It's not like you're using Controversal. It's nothing like that. So with the Knights, with the Wizards. So this again is RNG. Now this dungeon's been out for ages. Okay, it's been out since 2019, and I've never bothered to learn this room. Okay, for symbols, because it's got symbols like the first room. I don't really think you need to. You don't need to sort of invest your time to look at maps on Google and say, oh, this section's this section's that. No, you don't need none of that. What you need is your radar, okay? You just need to look at your radar and look at whatever, where wizards are spawning. Obviously, I know wizard locations in terms of, right, one spawns there, one spawns here, but I don't know the symbol to that location, because I don't bother to learn it, because I really don't think you need to. Like, if I told you, right, you need to go to Ice Cream Cone, I don't know where that is on the map. I'm not too fussed about learning that. But I do know about jumps and the fact that you really need to be careful in this room, because this can end your solar floors. This wizard right here, for example, I'm fighting is really dangerous. Okay, I can't tell you how dangerous it is. We do a Healing Rift here, but we're going to push up. This wizard could be the hardest wizard that you get, actually. Thinking about all the wizards that you actually get, that one can be quite dangerous, because you need to make a jump to sort of get some good damage. I mean, with a linear, if I had a linear on, that would have been a bit easier than what it was. But that's fine. So we're making our way to the final wizard. You noticed as I come into this section, I went right. I always go right. So just think of this room, skip it into 3 quadrants. You've got the right wing, the left wing, and the middle. The middle has lots of possible wizard encounters. The right and left's pretty simple, because they're on the outskirts, they're easy to spot. The middle one's not as easy, because you've got a wizard that can spawn left, right, you know, in front of you, or in like a crevice in the middle section. So it's more like a honeycomb section in the middle, whereas the outside are easy. Now if I go right, and there's no wizard there at all. Sometimes you can have 2 wizards on right, which is absolutely great RNG if you get that. But if you don't, you don't. It's fine. You need to be prepared for the worst. But if there's no wizards right, it's a process of elimination. It's so common sense. That means all the wizards can only be left and middle. If I go left and there's no wizard left or right, that means all the wizards are in middle. It's common sense, this. You don't need to start looking into symbols and all that stuff. Just literally run around the map, see red on your radar, and that's it. If you get the wizard on this side, this is a really handy spot to play from. And you can melt the wizard like so. Ascendancy is really good for this section, for most of the wizards. Apart from the tricky one that I had, the chances of you getting that wizard are pretty low. You probably won't get that one. That's the only one where it's like, right, that was a bit dangerous. But other than that, because it's got tracking on and it's solar, it just makes it's just a great weapon for this dungeon. I could have used it at the boss fight, but because passive guard's up, I wanted to do a sword run on it, and that's the only reason why I didn't use Ascendancy. So that's that encounter done and dusted. Now we're on with the final boss fight. So as I said, we'll be using build 2, which is your debuff buff build. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to be able to buff ourselves with Well of Radiance, and we're also going to be able to debuff enemies with Felwinter's Helm, which is a debuff in itself. So when you get a finisher or a powered melee kill on an enemy, you debuff any enemies surrounding you. Now that effect, I believe, as long as they haven't changed this, right? But it used to be if you get a finisher kill on a red bar, that'll give you a 5-second debuff on enemies near you. If you debuff an orange bar, it was 10 seconds, and if you debuff a yellow bar, it was 15 seconds. That's how it used to be. I believe it still is. But for what I'm doing right now, it definitely is 15 seconds on an ultra bar, which this boss fight lends itself to it. So we're using Felwinter's Helm, as I said at the start of the video, supercharged. So we've lost the Warmind cell build now. We're now on a Loosen Blade passive guard build. We take and charge stacks on stacks. So for every orb we get 2. We can get a maximum of ×4 Charge of Light. So when you put Charge of Light on, you get a base stack of ×2. I don't know why it gives you ×2, but it gives you ×2 base. Supercharge adds 2 stacks, which means we get ×4, which is crazy. So we're getting 4 Loosened Blades. It's great. It's great, this setup. Also, we've got many ways to get Charge of Light. We can get Charge of Light via rapid auto rifle kills, via Orbs of Light. We've got so much. So how you start the encounter? So you want to start by melting the knight. Don't worry about any of the ads. Leave the ads. A biggest mistake with starting this fight is people just start killing ads. No. Forget about acolytes. Forget about all that stuff. What you're wanting to do is kill a knight. Melt a knight with your fusion. Melt the knight down, whatever means. Then go to Shrieker side and kill the Shrieker first. Do it in this order. Kill the Shrieker first with your guarded ability. That will protect you against all other ads as well. Apart from melee, you seem to take melee damage when you're blocking. But other than, like, from ads, acolytes and things. But other than that, that's how you do that bit. And then you come to knight section. This is just how I do it. This is my routine. Whatever routine you're going to do, you need to stick to it. If you want to do wizard first, that's fine, but do wizard every time so that you've got the muscle memory of it. You know, you're like, right, I'm going to wizard every time, or whatever you want to do. I just like to do it like this. I've always done it like this. So as I said, Shrieker, Knight, take those out. You can use your block ability if you're worrying. If you want to do it in multiple swords, do it in multiple swords, because to be honest, you need to melt. There's 3 knights that spawn in the fight. You need to melt 2 of them anyways, so you're best off probably just doing a 2-sword strat on these ultras, because you're going to kill 2 of the ultras anyways, because for this strat to work good, you need 2 knights dead, 1 ultra knight in middle alive. Okay? So you may as well just go ham with your sword, use your block ability, use that. I mean, as I said, I played conservative, and I always do in these. I often watch back footage and look, oh, I played really conservative, more conservative than what I needed to, but it's just to show how safe you can play in these runs, and that they're not that difficult as what people, you know, make out at times. People often die in these runs because they're rushing or they're impatient. You need to have the patience first before you even start doing these sort of runs, Soul Flawless, this, that, the other, whether it be Prophecy, Presage. Build patience up in the game first. That's what you need. If you're an impatient person, I don't think it's for you. I think you should just stick to doing what you do, whatever you're doing in Destiny anyways. The more patience you have, the better player you're going to be. Okay, that's number 1. Next thing you need to do is just research the run. So that's what, you know, look at runs like this or any other run that you see commonly. There's a couple up actually this season. A couple of people have done it. Look at different runs, don't just look at one, and then pick what you think's best. And like I say, there's other things. Now we're going to melt the second knight. Just get rid of him. We don't need him. Okay. And then we're just going to take out, you know, a lot of the ads. We've got the. You can see I've got charge of light times 4 now, so we don't need to farm up any more stacks of light. I don't need to worry about that anymore because I got it earlier just by 2 masterwork orbs. Give me my max stack, so we're great. I probably didn't need the sustained charge mod, but I just put it on to show you that's another way. If you wanted to do it like that, you could do it like that. So to make you understand about dunking the orb, you need to manipulate the boss. Now people get themselves confused about how to manipulate the boss. Essentially, whichever side that you're dunking an orb on, you need to be the opposite side of that to make sure the boss pushes you, because the boss will push you whichever side you're on. Okay, so if you're trying to dunk an orb on the side that you want, but he's on top of you, he's not going to move, he's not going to retreat, and when you dunk your orb, he's going to slam you, and he's might slam you off the map, or anything could happen. So always go to the opposite side of the side you want to dunk, because you have a 10-second leeway, if you like, to go to that side that you want to dunk, because you baited the boss to the wrong side, so you can get your dunk. It's so simple. Do that, you won't have any problems. It's essentially very important you do it, because you will lose out on DPS if you slam the orb and the boss maybe stomps you up the stairs. Then you've just lost 5 to 10 seconds of DPS, which is a long time in this. Okay, it's a real long time for damage. This setup is, it's really good. Like, you can make a lot of mistakes and still get a 2-phase, because it will be a 2-phase. I'm not going to 1-phase it. It will be a 2-phase, a safe solo 2-phase, I would call it. So the final knight you want to get him weak, get him finishable, because this is where the Felwinter's Helm strat comes in. Right, have him blinded with the orb. Right, so keep blinding with the orb. I've baited the boss away from the relic dunk area as well. Pick up orb. You've at this moment in time the boss is debuffed for 15 seconds. We won't get all the 15 seconds out of it. We might get 8 or 9, but that's it. That's good enough. We'll just go in there first with our Lament. We're not even popping well. You can pop well when he does his solar flame attack, which I don't believe he actually done. Now I'm watching him back. He didn't even do his solar attack, which is interesting. He just done his solar. He just done his attack on me. But essentially, you can just keep doing sword. You can see we're half HP on him. My well placement wasn't the best, so what I ended up doing was plan B. Right, this is why we got a fusion on. We can do some damage in our well on the final phase and get a good chunk there. If you saw, that was without particle deconstruction as well. But I would recommend you still need passive guard on. Don't be putting particle on, because as you saw, I was surviving at the boss with no well. The reason why we do that is for the first, let's say, 10 to 15 seconds of damage, your Loosened Blade is giving you 35% damage buff. When you pop your well, it goes to 25%. But Loosened Blade will still override the well. But I'm just saying, you don't need to do the well until, like I said, 10-15 seconds into damage, because what will happen then is the Well of Radiance will last for the remainder of the fight. When it's more important, when there's cursed, because when there's cursed you can survive in a well. They can explode, you'll still survive. Whereas if you pop your well straight away on the boss as soon as you've dunked the orb, your well will run out when cursed are coming at you at the very end, and that is the pinnacle moment when you need the well. So don't do a well straight away is the key. Do a well 10 seconds after damage. Maybe by the time you've lost 1 stack of Charge of Light, maybe do a well then, or maybe when you've lost 2 stacks. But make sure you time your well as well, because if you don't do the well at the right time, he could stomp you off the map. Stomp you, and your well might be out of place. The worst thing about this boss is if your well is, say, 5 meters away from the boss, that boss ain't going to come into your well. He's just going to keep doing solo damage from a distance. That meaning that your well has just lost all its potency. It needs to be on top of the boss. Okay, it really needs to be there. So now it's just rinse and repeat. It's just the same thing. You can use your super on the wizard. Now if you see there, my super failed. The reason why is because I jumped up. Don't jump up when you're going to do your super on a wizard. Just run up to the wizard at full health, of course, and then do your super attack, and then you will get damage that way. Another thing you can just do with the wizard, just take him from range. You really don't need to, as I say, risk using a super and things. You can just take him from the doors. So just keep using the heavy attack like so. But if you do want to super him, as I say, it's just a case of wait for full health in cover, and then, as I say, use your super. Okay, so that's all the 3 ultras taken down, no problem at all. You'll notice I don't take the ads out on the Shrieker side. Why is that? Well, because you don't need to. They'll hide from you. Even during boss damage, they don't throw nades, they don't do anything, so it's a waste of time clearing them. The only thing they're good for is if, say for example, you've killed the Thrall and you don't have Charge of Light. Never use your sword until boss damage, because you will lose the Charge of Light, and you want it for the boss. So only ever use your fusion on the ads and your auto. If you've got an auto like this, it's really good on Thrall. As you can see, it just keeps reloading. Subsistence, Rampage times 2 times 3. But right now we're just trying to make orbs. Try not to stand in one place at, too long. Because even though it's not like a GM mode where you get increased damage from things, you're still going to get melted if there's like 10 Thrall mailing you, so just be careful. But we get our Charge of Light, that's what we wanted. Okay, all ads are taken out. Which I always recommend you have all ads killed before you start damage, always. And then we just want to get our Ultra Knight weak. Remember, you only want 1 up. You don't want 2 knights, because if you leave a knight up, when you do damage, that knight will push you. While you're doing, you don't want that, just in case. Okay, it's a safety thing. Same thing, we're baiting the boss. If you see, we've baited him away from the orb dunk area, and that means we can get our knight weak, finishable. Just keep lining him, and the boss will just stand there. He'll stand where you are. He'll want to be aggroed where your position is. This knight is being tricky, though. I can tell he's going to do that. That's fine. Just blind him again. Wait for health regen. Get your finisher kill. Go to orb dunk area as quickly as you can. Do your dunk, and it's just a case of now you can do your damage. I didn't even use my Well Radiance on this last phase because I killed him before all the curse came out. But that was the solo flawless on the Pit of Heresy for a Warlock. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.